Hey, everybody. Welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co host, and partner in crime, Katie Weaver. Hey, Katie.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm excited to be here. This is our
Yeah,
Wednesday case, which,
yeah,
I don't know. I like them all, but Wednesdays are good too.
yeah. It's also our
Right?
MMIW case, which makes
It
me
is. It is
very
our MMI.
excited.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited that we're doing these cases. I feel like this is really important and something that we can do to share our platform. And so we are
Mm.
talking about, doing cases all year about missing and murdered Indigenous women.
Yeah.
This is a huge problem, and it's a huge problem in our part of the country.
Hmm.
And, what we're finding is a lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah.
I will actually tell you a funny story. Yesterday, I had to have some injections in my back.
Hmm.
And I'm laying on the table, saying ow a lot. And my spine doctor, she has this way of getting you talking about something, and I know what she's doing. It's distraction therapy, basically. Sure. So she's asking me a little bit about what I do, and I say I'm a podcaster, and what kind of podcast do you do? And so I start telling her about true crime paranormal, and then I say, one of our big focuses this year is that we're focusing on the missing and murdered Indigenous women, and she's like, I don't even know, what are you talking about? Tell us what
Oh,
that means. And I'm like, well, here you go. This is a whole room of women. Like there are probably 5 women, but my surgeon and then nurses in there.
hmm,
And so I tell them all about it as I'm getting jabbed in the back with needles,
hmm.
and they were blown away. They had no
Yeah.
idea. And
Hmm.
they live right here in Idaho
Yeah.
where they should know.
Right. But there's just so very little coverage. Yeah.
There is so very little coverage, and that is what you're going to find in today's case. This is a cold read that I am presenting to Katie, and this is the case of Henny Scott. So this is Henny. Henny was 14. Let me tell you a little bit about her. She was 14 years old, and she lived in the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation in Montana.
Okay.
So on December 7th, 2018, so this is just a little more than a year before Selena Not Afraid,
Hmm.
Henny calls her mom and asks if she can go to Billings. Sound familiar?
Oh.
Um, with some friends to a basketball tournament. Well, Henny was grounded at the time, and so her mom said, "You can't go because you're grounded." So she said, "Okay, I will be home in a little while." Henny never came home.
Mm.
Mom initially thought that she went to the basketball tournament anyway.
Sure.
So when she hadn't turned up the next day, she starts reaching out on social media to her friends, to people who live in their community. Has anybody seen her? Nobody has.
Mm.
So, after searching for her on their own, they finally go to the Bureau of Indian Affairs to report her missing. Now, having talked to Native Americans who live on reservations in our area, I used to do some mental health work in a town near a reservation, and um, having to go to the Bureau of Indian Affairs is not something that anyone who lives on a reservation wants to do.
Yeah.
This is the federal authority over Indians,
Hmm.
and um, they're not super popular. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah.
Mom, went and said, "My daughter's missing. She's been gone for a few days now. We can't find her. We don't know what's going on. We need your help." And the police, remember, please, that Henny is 14.
Right.
Okay.
14 years old.
This is not an 18-year-old girl. This is a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah. This is a missing child. Yeah.
Missing child. So the police were really dismissive, asked if she had checked with her friends, and maybe she just had a new boyfriend. And maybe, she's just run off. Maybe she's just one of those unruly Indian kids. I mean,
Yeah.
really, this is how they get treated.
Yeah.
So they didn't release a missing persons alert that day. The police actually didn't release a missing persons report on Henny Scott until 19 days after she went missing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
Mm.
of course, people in their community were looking for her, volunteers, and
Yeah,
parents were trying to get, talking to people. Does anybody know anything?
sure.
So on December 27th, which is 2 days after they released the missing persons report, her body is found about 200 yards behind the house where she was last seen. And her body was covered in snow.
Mhm.
You will be unsurprised to hear that her death was caused by hypothermia.
Oh,
Sound familiar at all to Selena Not Afraid?
mhm. That's
Mom,
apparently an easy answer.
apparently, I mean, we live in a cold place, and they live in an even colder place with even more snow than us. But okay, how many teenagers do you know that just go lay down in the snow and freeze to death?
And just go ahead and die. Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Mom did not believe it. She did see her body. She said, I have pictures of her nose being broken. You can tell that her nose was broken, and she had bruises. But they told me that there was nothing on her, that there was no foul play. But she saw it, that she was bruised and had injuries.
Mhm.
The police came back, the feds came back, the FBI came back and said that there would be no charges filed in this case because they cannot prove a crime was committed.
Well,
A
yeah.
child
How could
who
you
was
prove a crime?
missing for 21 days and found dead in the snow, no crime committed.
With an abused and battered body, how could there be a crime there?
They did have the audacity to say that alcohol was involved. This is the other thing that absolutely pisses me off about these cases is that they always imply that it was just some drunk Indian kid. I
Mhm.
have heard that, that was in Selena Not Afraid's case. I've heard that in so many of these cases, as though this child was so drunk
Mhm.
and whoever she was with, which by the way, we don't know, there is not a single report anywhere that says whose house was this?
Right.
Where were the adults? How many 14-year-olds do you know that just wander off drunk and fall down and die of hypothermia in the snow?
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
doesn't
no.
happen. Bullshit. This is
Yeah.
absolute bullshit. This case makes me absolutely furious.
Mhm.
And that is quite literally all we know.
All we know.
That is all we know. If you go back, you can go read 10 articles, 10 blog posts, whatever you can find about this case, and it is just a regurgitation of that little tiny bit of information right there.
Unbelievable. So we don't have any toxicology, or we don't know of any.
Well, they did imply that there was alcohol, that she had alcohol in her system, and that it was one report I read was that it was a significant factor. Well, she's 14. Who was feeding her that alcohol?
Exactly. I mean, that's my question. Where did that alcohol come from?
Yeah. Where did that alcohol come from? Because that implies an adult who was around her before she died. And who is that adult? Whose house was this that she was found behind, which was
Mhm.
apparently where she was the day she called her mother
Mhm.
about going to the basketball tournament?
Mhm.
So we're going to take a little break. And when we come back from the break, Katie is going to give us a cold read on this case about what really happened to Henny Scott.
Okay.
So bear with us here because we're going to deal with a little technology for just a moment. And we are back.
Okay.
So give us your read. What really happened to this poor little girl?
All right. So I do believe that alcohol was a factor. I believe that I don't think the kids that were going to go to the basketball game ended up going. I do feel like she was mad at her mom and didn't come straight home. I do feel like she stayed there to hang out for a while. I feel like there was an older brother and his friends that had showed up at the house that had alcohol. and that they were giving alcohol to these girls. I feel like she did drink and maybe drank a lot. I don't think she knew what she was doing.
Mhm.
14-year-olds don't know how to drink,
Right.
you know, they don't know. And I feel like these older boys were basically feeding them booze. I feel like at some point, one of the older boys said that he would take her home and left with her. I don't think the other kids there even realized really what was happening. I think that the other girls there were quite drunk as well
Mhm.
and maybe didn't even realize that he had left with her. I feel like he is a brother, a friend of one of the older brothers. He was one of the older boys that was there. Anyway, obviously, he did not take her right home. I feel like he was trying to just take her out back and rape her. That was the plan. But she wasn't as drunk as he thought she was because she fought back. And they ended up in a physical altercation and he killed her. I feel like he raped her and killed her. And that this actually happened behind the house because that's where he took her to rape her before he took her home. And, but that he did, you know, whether he didn't, I'm not sure that he actually killed her or that he knocked her unconscious, and maybe thought that he killed her. I do feel like he purposely buried her in the snow. I feel like had they done, much of an investigation and tracked back to this house, they would have discovered that he had shoveled snow over top of her. I don't think that she just fell and, some snow fell on top of her. I feel like he buried her in the snow
Okay.
to get rid of her body and, then drove away in his car and nobody was the wiser. I feel like the other girls that were there were also drinking and weren't really aware,
Mhm.
of what was happening. But then when she came up missing, they were scared. They didn't want to get in trouble. They didn't want to fess up. And I'm going to say that I think these were white kids and that they just basically all agreed we're just not going to say anything. And that's what they did.
Mhm.
But I feel like the person who did this is known to the family of the house where she disappeared from and just got away with it. I feel like I I feel like she was raped and that I don't know if they didn't do a rape kit. It's possible that he wore a condom. Maybe they don't have a DNA, pattern from him, except for that there was a physical fight. Because
Mhm.
when he tried to rape her, she did fight back. That's where the broken nose came from.
Mhm.
I feel like it's possible that she would have had DNA under her fingernails. Like this girl fought.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't. They just didn't put in that much work. It
Yeah.
was just easy to say that she was just another drunk teenager, drunk Indian kid. Boom, there you go.
Yeah.
I agree that there was absolutely no effort put into this whatsoever. I
Yeah.
suspect that she was not dead but unconscious when he buried her in the snow, and that she did, in fact, die of hypothermia because
Mhm.
of her injuries and because of what was done to her. But again, what a lame ass, easy excuse rather than like do all of the work
Yeah.
that was not done.
No.
No.
No, she was treated like she did not matter.
Mhm.
She was not treated as though she were a missing child. I mean, where is the
No.
friggin' FBI coming in for missing children? I thought
Yeah.
that was part of the mandate of the FBI is that when a child is missing, the FBI
Mhm.
gets involved. And this is how the
Right.
here's how the FBI handled it. They didn't file anything as a missing persons report for
Yeah.
19 days from the day that she went missing,
Mhm.
and then her
Well,
body was
sure,
found
that
2
she
days
was just
later.
some runaway, right? She
Yeah,
was just some runaway.
yeah. If she'd been a white girl in a suburb, the
Mhm.
helicopters would have landed on their friggin' house, and we all
Oh, yeah.
know it.
Yep,
And
there
this
would
just
have been a
makes
huge
me
manhunt.
absolutely furious.
Mhm. Yep, there would have been a manhunt. It is disgusting.
It
And
is.
again, we're just seeing this over and over, and I'm afraid we're gonna sound like broken records this year, and I don't care,
Yeah,
I'll be that broken record over and over because this is just continuing to go on, and they're continuing to get away with this stuff.
yeah.
And we have got to be, continue to be loud about it. I'm heartbroken for her family, you
Oh my
know,
gosh.
disgusted with the friends who, again, I feel like the girls were so messed up. I'm not sure they really
But
have
somebody
much of a
knows.
memory, but somebody knows.
Somebody knows.
Somebody knows.
Who was at that house? Who bought that alcohol?
Mhm.
Who owns that house? Who lives there? You
Yep,
know, there are adults with
yep.
knowledge here. There clearly
There's
are.
adults with knowledge, there's yep, older siblings with knowledge. Oh, yeah, there are people who know, they're just not talking. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to ruin some young man's future, don't you know? Yeah,
No, for Christ's sake.
yep, yep. Well, so many condolences to her family, it's just disgusting.
Absolutely. It is. It's horrifying. These cases make me just absolutely livid, but I feel like the best
Mhm.
thing that we can do is give them attention.
Yeah,
Share them with all of you.
mhm,
Encourage you to share them. Please share our MMIW cases far and wide. Make
yep,
sure that people are learning about this because I feel like there's a lot of complacency and just trusting that, hey, if a kid goes missing, the FBI is going to show up and do everything possible. Well, that's obviously not true.
yep,
If you are a Native American child
mhm,
on a
yep,
reservation, they don't give a damn about
no,
them. And this is wrong on every level. You
mhm,
know, as taxpayers, as Americans, as human beings,
mhm,
it is our job to scream to the rooftops until something gets better with this.
yep, yep, without a doubt.
I
Yep,
don't want to have to tell the Henny Scott story or the Selena Not Afraid story anymore. I just don't want to have to tell these stories. But
I
we're
know.
going to keep telling them.
Mhm,
We're going to keep telling them because somebody's got to. And I hope that all of you start telling them too when you hear these stories, that you tell them too. Make sure that people know
absolutely.
here in the US and in Canada.
Mhm,
And
yep,
you know, if you live in another country outside of the US and Canada and you see these kinds of things happening, please send us those cases and we will cover them
yes,
as well. These are the
mhm,
ones that we have the most access to and are the most familiar with. But
mhm,
go to truecrimeparanormalpodcast.com, fill out our case suggestions, and
yep,
send us cases from outside the US and Canada. We are happy to cover them.
yep,
We just don't have as much, you know, they're not as easily found, I don't think, as these are. So
yeah,
please, you know, help
yeah, send
us
them
with
their way.
this. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yep, we're all over it. We're gonna continue to be.
Yes, we will.
Yep.
Well, this is our Wednesday case.
Yeah.
Tonight we will be back with case updates, which
Mhm.
we do have some interesting things happening in the Jessica
Ugh,
Mass case.
awful.
Interesting,
Yep.
maddening, yeah, things
Mhm.
happening in the Jessica Mass case. Plus, we have a DNA case we want to share. We also want to remind you that we are celebrating the fact that we just hit 50,000 downloads of our podcast. And by doing that, we are going to do a drawing for some of our merch. And
Yeah.
in order to get in on that, go to our Facebook fan page, which is True Crime Paranormal, or True Crime Paranormal Podcast Discussion Group, which is our group,
Mhm.
and comment on the post. You'll see we're just asking what's your favorite episode, what's your favorite moment in an episode. Just share something that you love about our podcast, and
Mhm.
we'll be drawing some names after the end of this week
Yep.
to give away some merch from our brand new merch store.
Yeah.
We really, really
Yep.
appreciate all of you participating, you know, with us, and we wouldn't have 50,000 downloads of our podcast if it weren't for all of you
No,
listening. So we
that's
really
right.
appreciate it. We wanna give back.
Absolutely. Yep. We are having the time of our lives. We also feel like there's some important work here to be done, and we are just damn determined to do it. You know, our mom was fearless, a lot
Yes,
more fearless than us, to be honest. She was fearless.
she
But
was.
the best thing we can do to honor her memory is to be fearless ourselves and
Yes,
continue to advocate for all of the cases that we uncover and that we share.
yes,
Yeah.
most definitely. You know, somebody asked me one time, "Well, isn't that just kinda depressing? I mean, how are you doing anything good for the world with a true crime podcast?" I'm like, "Well, you probably should come listen to ours if you don't know." Because we are. That's the whole point here, is it's not just that we're interested in true crime, but it is also that we love the opportunity to bring attention to social issues, to, you know,
Mhm.
cases that aren't getting enough attention, to
Mhm.
problems that we all can work on. Yeah, it's an important part of it.
Yep. Yep. Without a doubt.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Well, you know it. We are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Hi, I'm Kristi Brower, podcaster and professional psychic. I have spent the last 14 years honing my skills as a psychic and a healer. I work on the Purple Ocean app. You can find it in any of the app stores. And I am available every day for video and chat readings. I specialize in pattern breaking, particularly in relationships, but really in any area of your life. If you're feeling stuck and like you can't move on or you can't let something go, I am the reader for you. That is exactly what I focus on. It's what I love to do. I love to help stuck people get moving, and I've been doing it for many years and have been very successful at it and can do that for you as well. So if you are having trouble letting go of a relationship or a fear or a challenge of any kind in your life, come see me at Purple Ocean and we will do everything we can, me and my guidance system and my intuition and you, because it's always a package deal that we work together, but we will find a way to break that pattern for you. So come see me over at Purple Ocean and let's break your patterns.